Welcome to one of two different videos dropping today about the new Asgardians joining the battle of Marvel Crisis Protocol. In this video, I'm going to be talking about Loki, and yes, the thumbnail does not lie, he is a leader. My name is Nate, and welcome to the Gamers Guild. Loki, believe it or not, has not always been one of my favorite characters from the comics. Three things over the past few years have helped change that. One, Tom Hiddleston's portrayal of the character does a good credit to him. Two, the Agent of Asgard run, where Loki gets to play a little bit more of the anti-hero role. And then third and final, Marvel Crisis Protocol. Mind Gym Loki will not always be the best choice to put on the table under Discount Steve, but man, he's just so much fun. It gives an extra level of appreciation to the character for me. So, the idea of a new Loki has me very excited ever since, well, we got his initial reveal. So, let's get into it. Loki's initial stat block seems pretty solid. 4-4-5 on the defenses with a 7-6 split on stamina is really nice. A long move on a 35 millimeter base, and spoiler, he is an Asgardian, so that does open up the eyes on a prize play where he's going to be able to move up the board very quickly and grab a midline objective. His attacks are somewhere between really good and a bit shaky, in my opinion. His builder being a range 3 mystic attack with 6 dice is quite nice. Needing a crit and wild to trigger the bamboozle is going to miss more times than it hits. All in all, the math is saying that it's going to hit about 33% of the time on 6 dice. However, the effect is quite nice. Both board control and rooting the right character can be quite the double whammy. Where I get lost on the attacks is this clever ploy. It's a range 3 area attack with only 5 dice for 4 power. On the bright side, allied characters don't take damage, which is really nice because this is a large bubble. After each attack is resolved, if the attack deals damage, you get to advance the target character short. In my opinion, AMG as a general rule tends to overvalue area attacks, especially in the form of spenders. Now, don't get me wrong, this attack on something like Gamma could be really good, but 5 dice is not going to be hitting very hard for a spender, especially for the characters who are teched for mystic attacks. So as it stands, I would say hold off from this attack unless you have 3 or 4 targets where damage can swing you a couple of points or deny them on secures. Skipping over his leadership for a moment, we have a very nice active ability, Go Forth. Costs 2 power and lets Loki choose another allied character within range 4 and lets you place them within range 2. There is also understandably a once per turn limit on this ability. So right out the gate, Loki will be able to give someone a range 2 place. Now, sure, unfortunately, Loki won't be able to do this to himself, and he won't be able to get an objective if he's spending his power for that. But some of the agency it gives his allies can be really dangerous, given some of the heavy hitters that Asgard has. And as a whole, it's just a great repositioning tool to have easy access to and have it online every single round. His next power, Oh My What a Pity, only costs 1 and lets Loki punish anyone attacking around him or the target that he is attacking for their failures, literally. As long as the enemy is within range 3 and they roll a skull on their attack, they take a damage. If Loki is attacking them and they roll a failure, they hopefully only take 1 extra damage after it's all said and done. This is really his bread and butter that will constantly chip away at the enemy team. Rounding out his kit, he is predictably an Asgardian who will get an extra power during the power phase, but the far more intriguing innate power is all about mayhem. Whenever Loki is attacking or defending, he gets to count skulls in your opponent's roll as successes in yours. Interestingly, this will help Loki out more on defense than offense since your opponent will have the larger dice pool then, but between Mayhem and What a Pity, Loki has a lot of eggs in your opponent's basket. So it'll either be a festival of mayhem or a drought, and not really a lot of in between. So let's take a larger look at Loki and what he is good at and where he's going to suffer. Now, let me preface this with there isn't an easy one to one in the five threat category to go by with how Loki's going to be playstyle wise and all of that stuff. And obviously, I haven't gotten a chance to test him out myself yet. Loki is going to be a menace on the clumped up objectives. So the F layout, like scoundrels, things like Gamma and Researcher, and maybe even Sword Base. His area attack gains a lot more relevance on these kind of layouts. As well, his stats are healthy enough that he can just take a few attacks or throws without getting mushed like his other counterpart. And he shouldn't ever be too starved for power with his kit. Maybe the most important part of why he can excel on these objectives is it won't matter as much if he isn't on a point. He is still doing his role of being within range 3 of enemies and chipping in damage, while the rest of your characters can deal with the scoring. Outside of these clumped up scenarios, it's going to take some time to know just how Loki can do on his own on a flank. With two of his powers that you can spend power on, wanting allies near him to be able to really get the most value out of them. And his lack of any form of mobility at all on a spread out scenario is rough because any control on him can be the equivalent to a stagger. And all of Loki's control is conditional. So I would definitely say have fun on those clumped up objectives with a wicked grin on your face. Outside of that arena, I personally think Loki is going to have a hard time of it. At 5 threat on a flank, he isn't bringing a ton of firepower like the other Asgardians. He doesn't have any movement economy, and he doesn't have any reliable control. So give him a test and let me know how it goes. I am very eager to start putting him through his paces, especially as a leader. I Come Bearing Gifts lets Loki's other allied characters spend a power when they are attacking, defending, or dodging to get one reroll in that attack, dodge, or defense roll. When they do this, Loki gains one power. So this is the Black Panther or Iron Man's leadership, with the exception that the leader himself isn't able to use the rerolls. Instead, he's just going to get fed power from everybody else, which, first of all, is very on theme for Loki and will keep him ridiculously filled up on power. So, who is eager to sign up for Team Loki in Asgard? To very little surprise, Enchantress is the first character I have in mind, as she is typically flooded with power, so giving her an outlet to keep her beams dangerous and helping Loki keep full on power is really nice synergy, as well as a nice thematic touch. Not to mention the ability for Loki to set her into place for the most effective beam lineups with his place effect. From there, Valkyrie also comes to mind. Warrior of Legend plus a reroll is a pretty wicked damage curve on it. Angela and Hela are two more affiliated ladies with power to spare who can use this leadership quite effectively. All in all, it ends up still being a pretty expensive threat wise team. So I'm going to recommend stapling the first Winter Soldier as a very welcome rogue agent addition to the team. As for splash pieces, since you are probably going to end up wanting to go with Loki on those more clumped up objectives, Crimson Dynamo seems like a great addition, both for the chance to force your opponent to reroll into some skulls, as well as feed the beam engine. And the final character that I have no idea if it's good or if I'm just getting greedy is the first Killmonger. Why? Well, Killmonger has this really cool team tactic card called Usurp the Throne, where he wants to hunt down the largest target on the table and kill them. The problem is that he may not be set up on power to do it all the time. Well, cue Loki's personal affiliated team tactic card, Trickster's Boon. You play it during a non affiliated character's activation, with Loki paying 4. Then the chosen non affiliated character, Killmonger, gains 5 power. This activation phase, if the chosen allied character, Killmonger, dazes or KOs the chosen enemy character, you gain 1 VP after the effect is resolved. If it did not during the cleanup phase, there are consequences though. Your opponent gains 1 VP, and the chosen allied character loses all of their remaining power, and Loki gains all of the power lost this way. So Trickster's Boon gives Killmonger his charge and usurp power right out the gate. Any other power can be dedicated towards rerolls or maybe even his spender. This is a lot of resources being put into play, and if your opponent has some nasty bodyguard effects or other form of disruption, you'll need to be very careful trying to pull it off. But a 3 victory point swing can be huge. The last thing I'll mention before closing out this video is to say that I think both Lokis still absolutely have a place in the game, even if they're both at 5 threat or 4 and 5. Mischief Loki will, or at least should, still see play if the Avengers. He just has such fantastic synergy with the first Captain America that I highly recommend you try that combo if you haven't already. While a character like Mayhem, as well as just being a leader, could make a very interesting splash piece under a Charles-led X-Men for those clumped up scenarios. But these are some of my first impressions with Loki, Prince of Lies. If you want to see some of the other characters from this box, check out the other video that dropped today, including another leader for Asgard. That said, with all of these releases earlier in the week, I won't have anything extra releasing over the weekend of the 4th of July as I'm going out of town, and I will be doing the giveaway drawing instead of today so that people have the usual amount of time to get entries in on July 12th. If you want to enter into July's giveaway, all you need to do is be subscribed to the channel and leave a comment on a video the same month that it is released, like any of the videos dropping today, for example. And if your name is pulled from the proverbial hat, Tritex will supply you with one standard MCP expansion of your choice. And speaking of Tritex, I want to go ahead and give a shout to the guild sponsors who help make this content possible. If you are in the UK, you can shop at Tritex Games using the code TritexGGCP5 at checkout for an extra 5% off. And if you use this code on a pre-order item like the new Defenders coming out later this month, it will net you a grand total of 25% off. If you are in the US, you can shop at gamechefs.org, or you can use the code GamersGuild for 15% off of your order. As always, if you have an LGS you are playing at, we encourage you to support where you play. I also want to take a moment and say if you're enjoying the content here on YouTube or one of the different podcasts and you want to support our efforts directly, you can support us on Patreon. As well, if you want to join us in silly discussions or ask questions to be answered from rules to general advice, you can join the Guildhall Discord page down in the link below. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, keep on gaming.